What's going on, everybody? Jarrett with Jarrett Rushing Fishing. As you can tell, I am not on the water. In fact, I'm in my front yard sitting on patio furniture. So we got something to talk about. With the platform that I have, YouTube and social medias, and being out in the public eye a lot, I get asked all the time about my thoughts on forward-facing sonar. And I figured this was an opportunity for me to kind of talk about my opinion of forward-facing sonar and what I think about the rule changes. So, you know, let's dive right into it. Now, before we do, I got two things that we have to clear the air about right quick and in a hurry. And number one is I'm not a professional. In fact, I'm just a hobbyist. That's it. I enjoy fishing. I enjoy competition. I enjoy people. So why not put them all together? Why not do YouTube and kind of document things along the way? But, you know, this is what I enjoy doing. I enjoy talking to people. I enjoy fishing, and I enjoy competition. So here we go. Number two, I am not a deep fishing person. In fact, anybody that's watched this channel for any period of time knows that I'm a shallow bank beater, and I like it. I fish my strengths, and that is my strength, and I'm going to continue to do that with or without regard to what forward-facing rules, regulations, or whatever are being implemented. So that's my 2 cents before we get into the meat and taters of this talk. So to catch everybody up, to date, this is September the 5th, MLF has not announced any rule changes on their side. However, I believe that on BFL and Toyota series, there's going to be a screen limitation. And I've heard rumblings that on the MLF invitational side that the pros are going to be limited to one period where they can use forward-facing sonar, and the other two are going to be no forward-facing. Now, there's other sonars out there that they can use, so it is what it is. Now, if they take the BASS approach, then they're only going to have one transducer. That's it. The BASS has announced, or Bassmasters has announced, that they are only allowing one transducer, and they're limiting the screen size, or one transducer to the front, I guess, and limiting the screen size to 55 inches total of screens in your boat. And to follow suit, the NPFL is now saying that they have banned forward-facing sonar altogether for their league. So there you have it. That's what I know so far. Let's talk about each one individually. NPFL, forward-facing sonar ban. Is it a good thing or a bad thing? In my personal opinion, I think it's a good thing. It's a good thing for the league. It's a good thing for the fans. And the reason being is now fans have an outlet to watch where people are not going to have their head in a screen. The fishing industry is highly driven on viewership and fan bases. And what I hear more than anything, and I'm the same way, is I don't like watching events where people have their head buried in a sonar out in open water and you can't see anything but them set the hook, their rod bow over, and then a little bit of a fight. You don't know if they're in 2 foot of water, 6 foot of water, 100 foot of water. You don't know if they're fishing a brush top, brush pile, or whatever. Whereas the shallow water guys, top water guys, all that, you can watch the strike, you can watch the fight, you can see what kind of edge they're fishing or what type of structure they're fishing. So do I think it's a good thing? Yes, for the league itself. Do I think it's a bad thing for forward-facing sonar? Not really, because the other leagues have it where you can still use it. So I think the NPFL made a bold move, and I commend them for it. I really do. I think it's going to be good for viewership. I think it's going to be good for their league. I think it's going to really promote watching an event and seeing different strategies, seeing what people are doing. And there's still going to be sonar usages because they didn't ban the use of 360. They only banned forward-facing live sonars. So it's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. We started talking about limiting the screen sizes for, you know, BFL, Toyota, and BASS. Do I think it's a bad thing? Not at all. I don't. Do I think limiting it to one transducer is a bad thing? Not at all. I don't. In fact, I think it's a good thing to limit the screen size because of safety issues. Now, people are going to say, well, what about this? What about this? You know, what about if they have a 55-inch screen? Because that's the screen size limitation right now is 55. And the thing is, if you want to put a 55 screen on your dash and run it, then man, have at it. But just know you're not going to be able to see squat. I have watched people that have the big screens, and in fact, we watched some of that this year in the elites. There were people with 3 screens on the dash, and they're idling around, mapping areas and looking at things, and which is great. It's a tool. But whenever you start talking about what can you see beyond you, or are you just staring at a map, man, there's things, logs, there's shallow water buoys, no wake buoys, there's other boaters. You know, just this year we had somebody that was hit in one of the public waters here in Arkansas, and they were in a yellow kayak because dude was staring at his screen. It happens. But if we limit the size of our screens, then maybe that'll decrease accidents that are happening or could potentially happen. Do I think that keeping forward-facing sonar is a good thing or a bad thing? I think it's neither. My thought on forward-facing sonar is it's a tool. It is an ever-evolving tool that makes fishing better. It does. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. Forward-facing sonar is a tool that makes fishing better. Think about this from a baseball perspective. Whenever I was a kid, and I'm 40 plus years old, whenever I was a kid, our little league bats had a barrel that was only 1 7/8 to 2 inches. I mean, that was little bitty. I don't remember what the exact diameter on it is now, but if you watch the Little League World Series the other day, man, I watched a lot of it on ESPN before that fiasco, but we're not going to get into that. But those kids were using the big barrel bats. They're using 2 3/4 and 2 7/8 inch bats. They're using metals and alloys that were not available to us as kids, but they're playing with better equipment. Sonar is no different. Whenever I was a kid, we had the Lowrance sonar that had the orange and the red line going, but it was still a sonar. It still worked. And the people that were good back then are still good to this day. Your Rick Cluns, your Larry Nixons. I mean, those guys were good back then, and they're still good to this day. They can catch them. They just know how. In fact, I will say this. Back in the good old days, we're talking about, using forward-facing sonar to find ledges and everything else. I can remember having a conversation with somebody, and I'm not going to mention his name, but he said he would go out on lakes like Kentucky Lake and all that. He would use that old Lowrance sonar, and he would find the drops off of the edges of them ledges, and he would take Coke bottles with strings and a rock or a weight or whatever and throw them out and let them go all the way down. And he buoyed them is what he did. And then he would come back and fish them and catch fish. The strategies have been there for years. Just the availability to see what's under there is a little bit different now. It's better. Is it bad? No, it's not. So I guess where I stand on forward-facing sonar is it's a tool. Use it to the best of your ability. However, because we are in a viewer-driven sport, and fishing is a sport, that's another topic I could get into, but because we are in a viewer-driven sport, you've got to adhere to what the fans want. The fans don't want to see people staring at screens. Options are put a camera over the screen and make sure they can see what they're looking at. That is an option. Or limiting what they can, or what's there is an option. It is what it is. I preluded, or I used baseball as an analogy a minute ago, and I'm going to use it one more time here before we close out. But baseball, MLB, is a viewer-driven sport. It is. You got to have the fans. You got to have the fans buying merchandise. You got to have the fan base, watching the events on television, or watching or listening to the events on the radio or on your phone, on the apps, whatever. Whenever I was a kid, the home run derby really just got cranked off and good and kicked off. And the home run derby was structured where you had 10 outs during an at-bat, and any swing that was not a home run was an out. It was a great structure, but from a longevity standpoint, it drug out so much. I mean, I can remember the home run derby at at Baltimore Orioles Stadium. Was that Camden? Yeah, is that Camden Yards? Yeah, Camden Yards. And I can remember seeing Griffey Jr. go off of the warehouse. But it was like I watched Griffey for 35 minutes because he'd take a break in between swings. Then McGuire got up and he did the same thing. You know, it was a 4-hour derby. And to make it better for viewers, they had to change the format. And yes, the new format is rigorous and it is stressful for the people that are hitting in the home run derby, but it's better for viewership. A 4-hour event is now taking an hour and 45 minutes to 2 hours, 2.5 hours at most. And I think that is the approach that the fishing industry has to take in order to succeed and please their fans, is make it to where it is viewer friendly again. If that means putting a camera over a forward facing sonar, then that's fine and dandy. Doing split screens, that's good. If that means taking it away altogether, that's fine by me too. I don't care. But for everybody griping and complaining about forward-facing sonar, my opinion is it's a tool. It is. You either get good at it or you get left behind. That's it. I want to finish this off by saying this, and this might make a few people mad. If so, sorry. It is what it is. This is my opinion. But if you're one of the people that have been posting on social media or talking to your friends and saying, if so-and-so bans forward-facing sonar, I will never fish with them again. My question to you is well, what kind of a fisherman are you? Are you so reliant on one particular area and so one-dimensional that you can't catch them any other way? Don't let a rule change or a limitation on something such as forward-facing sonar dictate your love for the sport. Don't. It's dumb. It is absolutely dumb. I don't believe that saying I'll never fish NPFL because they banned forward-facing sonar. They're probably happy not to have somebody like you then. Just speaking the truth here. Again, it might make people mad, but I don't really care at this point because the hashtag FFS and all that mess has gotten so ridiculous on social media that it's crazy. And to think that we go from this to the election in just a month and a half, 2 months, man, social media, it's going to get old. I might just pause Facebook for a while. Pause all of my social medias. Just say I don't want to get on them for a while just so I don't have to listen to this crap. It's a tool. Use it. If the league you're fishing bans it, suck it up, buttercup, and fish the way they want you to fish. It's not about what you want. It's what's best for the sport and best for the organization. So there's my opinion. If you agree with it, you can leave me a comment. Let me know that you agree. If you don't agree, then you can leave a comment. Tell me you don't agree. I mean, I'm all about debating or visiting man to man or like adults about these kind of situations. I will not tolerate any bashing. If somebody else has an opinion and you want to bash them, I will delete a comment. And then I'll delete you as a friend or whatever. I mean, I will block you. I don't care. This is an open channel and I welcome any and all discussion, but I will not have somebody saying you're, this or the way you think is dumb or whatever. I'm not going to have that. And I said that, and maybe it's hypocritical because I just said that I believe that people that say that they're not going to fish a league because of banning of a sonar is dumb. Maybe I'm hypocritical, but that's my opinion. Take it or leave it. So, again, appreciate y'all for tuning in. Appreciate y'all for following along. If you watch this whole thing, y'all do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. Like always, y'all keep chunking.